Shalom, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations as always to the elect. All right, you brothers and you sisters who are coming back to the Most High God, Yahweh. All right, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, whose Hebrew name means he is, as the scriptures say. All right, those of you who first come to the Most High must first believe that he is. All right, and how you say that in the Hebrew is Yahweh. All right, he is, he exists, or he is to be. All right, Bahasham, in the name of Yahweh Shai, the name of the only begotten Son of the Most High, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. All right, his Hebrew name means Yah, he, Yahweh Shai, salvation, all right, or deliverer. All right, he is our mediator, our high priest, our way back to the Heavenly Father. All right, Bahashem, in the name of Rachakwadash. All right, the Spirit Holy, or the Holy Spirit that has been sent in these latter days from on high, as promised and prophesied throughout the Holy Scriptures via the Comforter. All right, which gives us understanding, starting with the servants, the prophets, who are ordained from the foundation of the earth. All right, to have the new song and sing it in the form of preaching and prophesying on the highways and the byways, and doing these videos as well, as the scriptures say in Sirach, all right, or rather Ephesians, the 4th chapter. All right, these gifts were given, all right, to the elect men of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai for the perfecting of the saints, so that you can get understanding of the volume of the book. All right, so this message is for those who have ears to hear and eyes to see, and who are willing to dance to the tune of the new song. So today we're going to deal, all right, with ethics, the book of Sirach, the 37th chapter. As I was reading this last week, the Spirit hopped on me to just do a lesson, some real good information. Again, when you read, you know, these writings, their ethics, like the book of Proverbs, you know, on how to deal, all right, in your day-to-day life, how to deal amongst brothers, and to prepare yourself for the temptations that come with walking this walk, all right, here as you're behind enemy's lines, okay? And it prepares you for things you're going to deal with, you know, amongst the brotherhood, all right, and many things that will help you to perfect your walk. All right, as we're living in these latter days, we've been awakened. We must tap into these writings as well. You know, it's good to get the breakdowns, you know, the meaty topics. All right, but these codes and these ethics, which were written by our forefathers, were written for our learning. Okay. And we got a long way to go, and we're going to get there in a short time through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. All right, so don't run away from these writings, all right, because when you read these precepts are commands as well, okay, and in particular situations in your everyday life amongst the brotherhood, these are things you can run to, all right, on how to respond, all right, and ultimately just be a better individual and brother altogether. Okay. So Sirach, the 37th chapter, which we know the book of Sirach, all right, was written by the grandson, all right, of Sirach. All right. His father's name was Joshua, which is in the Hebrew Yahweh Shai. And as he wrote in the prologue, which we'll read it in the GNT. As a matter of fact, let's get it. All right. It was originally written in Hebrew, but it was translated into the Greek. All right. And now we have it today. All right. In the English. So this is what he says. Let me urge you to read this book carefully and with an open mind. And please be patient in those places where, in spite of all my diligent efforts, I may not have translated some phrases very well. He's writing to you, okay? what was originally written in Hebrew does not always have the exact same sense when it is translated into another language. That is true not only of this book, all right, as this book, which is the longest book of wisdom we have, that survived for us to have in these latter days. But even the law itself, the prophets, and other books, the translations differ quite a bit from the original. This is why we go into the Greek, the Hebrew and the Greek. All right. So any teacher who is teaching you, you don't have to go into the Hebrew or the Greek. Okay. They're setting you up for failure. Okay. It says, I came into Egypt in the 30th year of King Euergetes. This is when the Greeks were reigned and stayed for some time. While I was there, I had the opportunity for a good deal of study and felt the necessity of translating the following book. I wanted to use all my diligence and skill to complete it and to make it available for all those living in foreign lands who wish to learn and who have the strength of character to live by the law of Moses. All right. And we do all of these things to the best of our ability. All right. We're in the flesh. All right. We're subject to sin. We fall. All right. But these writings are meant for us to build ourselves up. All right. And to strengthen the inward man, as the scriptures say, though the outward man perish, the inward man is renewed day by day. All right. And when Yahushua returns, you want to be judged by your intent and not by the mistakes and sins you committed in this flesh. And that is pretty much synonymous with the mercies of David. Okay. So that's what this grace period is for. And while we're under grace, all right, we're not to remain the same, but we are to build ourselves to the best of our ability in the ways of our fathers, man. That's why the scriptures say, seek ye the old path. Okay. Where is the good way, and walk ye in it. Okay. And of course, that's to the best of your ability. So when you read the book of Sirach, the 37th chapter, all right, which as a matter of fact, we'll also get it in the GNT. All right. Sirach, the 37th chapter. All right. It deals with, false friends, which is something you're going to have to deal with in your day-to-day life and also amongst this brotherhood. Okay. As particular individuals come in feeding themselves without fear and are turned into enemies. Caution and taking advice and counsel. Okay. Wisdom and confidence and controlling the appetite. All right. Which are all things that we can build ourselves upon. All right. And prepare ourselves for in this walk. Now, we'll get out of the King James, which was written in the Old English, and we'll also get out of the GNT, which is more of a modern English. Okay. To get understanding on particular things. So we'll start here in verse 1. It says, every friend saith, I am his friend also, but there is a friend which is only a friend in name. Okay. There's a friend which is only a friend in name. And when adversity comes, all right, or when he has to deal with, being corrected, he can turn to an enemy. All right. And these are the things that you've dealt with in the world and amongst this brotherhood. All right. There's going to be individuals who you thought were friends. Okay. And once things go bad for them, or once they're rebuked, or once they're separated from the body, or whatever the case may be, or they leave, all right, they'll pretty much destroy your name, all right, and do everything in their will to become an enemy of you. Okay. When they were amongst you, all right, you thought that they were your friend. Okay. These are the things that our apostles and elders went through. All right. And ultimately before them, the men who labored, and going back to the prophets, the apostles, all right, of old, or Yahushua himself had to deal with these things. There are only a core group of individuals who are your true friends. Okay. And that's the elect. It says, every friend said, I am his friend also, but there's a friend which is only a friend in name. All right. Is it not grief unto death when a companion and friend is turned into an enemy? All right. And many of the scriptures in the book of Sirach deal, with friendship. As I just typed in friend and I did a search in the Apocrypha, all right, and it goes into these things, okay? This is Sirach 22 and 22. It says, if thou hast opened thy mouth against thy friend, fear not, for they may be a reconciliation, except, all right, for upbraiding, all right, meaning you try to destroy that individual's name, okay, or pride, or disclosing of secrets, or a treacherous wound, for these every friend will depart, and you're going to have to deal with this. All right. Those who you thought were friends, upbraiding you, becoming prideful when they are called out. All right. For, particular faults, separated, kicked out, or whatever it may be. All right. Then they'll start to, destroy your name, disclose secrets. All right. That they were privy to amongst the body. All right. And these things cause a wound. Okay. And once you're in this truth, all right, you have to prepare your mind that particular men who are dipping their hand, all right, in the same chicken basket as you, all right, or some of them are going to turn into enemies. Okay. Let's see here. And this book, Sirach, goes into a lot of situations dealing with friends. Okay. Let's see here. Sirach 22 and 20. So I guess Sirach 22 is another book to go into. Whoso casteth a stone at the birds frayeth them, and he that upbraideth his friend breaketh friendship. All right. Now let's look up this word upbraid. Okay. Let's just look it up. All right. And these are the things Yahweh Shai had to deal with. All right. And of course, amongst our walk, these are things that, certain of us are going to have to deal with. All right. It says to find fault with, scold, rebuke, reproach, admonish, reprove. All right. Remonstrate with. All right. Chastise, chide, and all of these various different things. Basically, you're tearing down his name. Okay. You have individuals who will be face to face with you in councils. All right. And then, they'll have nothing to say. But once they're separated, all right, they'll create narratives and they'll become enemies. All right. Let's read this in the NLT. All right. Verse 2, it says, the grief caused when a friendship turns sour is as bad as death. All right. Especially when these are individuals that you considered as close friends and brothers that you thought would do anything for you. Of course, you would do anything for them. Well, you have to prepare yourself in this brotherhood. All right. In this truth, in this walk. All right. The Heavenly Father, as they say, works in mysterious ways. And there's just particular individuals that aren't right. Okay. And the book of Jude goes into that. Okay. Men who crept in unawares, feeding themselves without fear, who will once amongst the church, they'll take the doctrine, pervert it, act like they came up with the truth. All right. And just turn to a complete enemy. It says this evil impulse we have, why was it ever formed? All right. And since the fall of Adam, we've had to deal with these disparities. We've had to deal with these, wicked thoughts and we're subject to all of these various different things. Then comes the curse that came with breaking the covenant. You see? So these are things that we have to deal with, which is why you want to constantly be around those, all right, who are practicing the fear of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right, as it says in the book of Sirach, the first chapter. Let's get that. All right. Sirach, the first chapter, it deals with, the fear of the Lord. Sirach 1 and 21, the fear of the Lord driveth away sins, and where it is present, it turneth away wrath. All right. So you yourself have to keep the fear of the Lord at the forefront of your mindset. Okay. All right. And ultimately, when you do that, it keeps folly away. The simplicity in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, as we went into the other day, drives away, all right, these youthful lust and this wicked mindset that comes with this world, because we were marinating in Babylon, all right, Some of us, 19 plus, some of us 20 plus, 30 plus, whatever, before we came into this truth. You see? So we have a lot of ways that we become accustomed with and used to in our reactions and how we deal with particular matters. When you come into this truth, you have to throw all of those things away, as it says in the book of, let's get it, Revelation or Romans, the 12th chapter. All right, I was watching some brothers earlier and they brought this scripture out in the NLT. This is Romans chapter 12 and 2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect. All right, the will of the Most High. Okay, and let's get this in the NLT. It says, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world. Okay, when you're rebuked, you turn to a hoe. That's of the world. Okay, you become prideful and vengeful. Okay, here it is. You can dish out all of this correction and tell Israel what they need to do. But when you're faced with changing yourself, okay, or you're faced with adversity, you turn to a complete wimp and you handle it like a woman. And you have many individuals that do this. Okay, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world. Let the Most High transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. And we did a lesson the other day, a couple of weeks ago, about how wisdom will try you. So you got to always be in the mindset of when the Lord is challenging you, pray for understanding on what's going on. All right. And not react as the old man did. OK, so reading this again in the GNT in Sirach 37, it says, anyone can claim to be your friend, but some people are friends in name only. The grief caused when a close friendship turns sour is as bad as death. This evil impulse we have, why was it ever formed? Okay, the fact that you can be friends with someone, all right, on Wednesday and Friday you're with enemies cursing them out. Okay, this is something that you have to deal with. Okay, how did it manage to cover the earth with deceit? And it has. All right. This is why we have to understand that our adversary, the devil, is going around like a roaring lion looking for nigger moments. All right. Or looking for someone who's not walking in the spirit so that he can cause chaos and friction in the earth, man. OK. How did it manage to cover the earth with deceit? It says some people will be your friend as long as things are going well, but they will turn against you when trouble comes. You see that? And the scriptures say a friend is born for adversity. Let's get that. Okay. All right. But you're going to have individuals who flip. All right. When adversity comes. Okay. Proverbs 17 and 17. A friend loveth at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Okay. You're going to have individuals that you thought were friends when particular rumors come out about you. All right. Or things don't go your way and you're down. They're going to turn on you. OK, they're going to pretty much use that as an opportunity to come against you and then add to the narrative. And you're looking like, well, damn, you were, when we were in council, when we were together, you didn't say that. All right. But ultimately, a true friend is born for adversity. So when you're going through things, all right, whether it be something you're going through in your personal life, whatever it may be. All right. That brother is there for you, man. And those are the type of individuals you want around you. So when you see an individual turn into a hoe ass nigga, OK, you got to thank the Lord, too, because you don't want that type of individual around you. All right. In a life and death manner, because he'll show his true colors. All right. And you'll be mad as hell that he was around you. OK. So, again, let's get this in the King James. It says, verse 4, there's a companion which rejoiceth in the prosperity of a friend. All right. When you're up, especially these jakes in the world who run into money. OK, or make it in acting or an athlete. OK, you notice they have all of these individuals around them. You see, but when they fall, these certain individuals are nowhere to be found. All right. And then they'll start mocking them. All right. They're talking shit about him. Oh, he fell off. Oh, damn, he wasted his money, all this and this and that, disclosing secrets. Yeah, I saw that nigga buy this. You know, instead of when they seeing him, acting like this way, telling them, look, bro, because a true friend will correct you. All right. That's why the scriptures say, admonish a friend. It may be that sometimes it's not true, but at least you're admonishing him so that, as a matter of fact, I believe that's one of the scriptures that was pulled up here. All right. Let's see here. Yep. Sirach 19 and 15. Okay. It says, admonish a friend. It may be that he have not done it. And if he have done it, that he do it no more. Okay. So a true friend will admonish you. All right. When things seem to be off. All right. And if it's not off, then you can have the necessary conversation to bring clarity to the situation and you move on. Okay. Admonish thy friend. It may be that he have not said it. And if he have, that he speak it not again. All right. Because you can get simple. So you want individuals around you who will hold you accountable and not allow you to just say and do any damn thing too. All right. Admonish a friend, for many times it is a slander, and believe not every tale. OK, a true friend will actually look into things, question you, talk to you, counsel with you before he just runs with some damn slander. All right. But at the same time, there's an admonishment. Yo, if you did do that, don't, and that's how it's supposed to be. All right. But you have particulars who will just run with slander. OK, those aren't your true friends. OK, the counsel is very important. Simple conversations are very important. Again, a lot of things that blow up, especially amongst the brotherhood, can be handled with simple conversations. But again, that comes with what? The renewing of our mind, because we didn't learn true conflict resolution skills when we were in the world. Well, with this truth comes conflict resolution, all right, which that plagues our nation. OK, both men and women. OK, simple conversations. All right, not running with raw emotions. OK, it says there's a companion which helpeth his friend for the belly. Right, meaning there's particular friends, all right, who sincerely love you and want to see you prosper, okay, and help you, and taketh up the buckler against the enemy, meaning he's there with you in war. All right, when enemies come against you, he's there with you. He knows you. All right, if a particular slander or whatever comes out against you, he's not going to run with that slander. He's going to what? Defend you against the enemy. He's not going to what? Help the enemy. All right. Forget not thy friend in thy mind, and be not unmindful of him in thy riches. Let's read this in the GNT. Let's see, what verse was that? All right. 5 and 6. It says, a real friend will help you against your enemies and protect you in the fight. See, he's going to have your back, man. All right. You ain't going to run off. Okay. No, he's going to have your back, man. All right. Look, if we're going to lose, we're going to lose together. If we're going to win, we're going to win together. Okay. And when enemies come against you, all right, he knows you. He takes counsel with you. So he's not going to believe and run with any slander that comes against you, man. This is a true friend. All right. But you also have false friends. All right. Never forget such companions in battle. OK, share the results of your victory with them. So if you run into something, as the scriptures say, all right, there are particular friends you keep in mind. OK, as a matter of fact, there's a scripture that goes into this that I was reading as I looked up these precepts. This is Sirach. All right. I read this, Sirach 9 and 10. Forsake not an old friend who's been with you, for the new is not comparable to him. A new friend is as new wine. All right. And new wine is not as good as it is when it's aged. When it is old, thou shalt drink it with pleasure. All right. And an old friend is someone who's been through thick and thin with you. OK, who's had your back and you've had his. All right. Who you've seen at their low points. They seen it, you at your low points, but they didn't use that as a means. All right. To come up against you and mock you. OK. Sirach 6:15. Nothing doth countervail a faithful friend, and his excellency is invaluable. Okay? His excellency is invaluable, man. Okay? It's like medicine. Okay? Let's see here. A friend, Sirach 40:23. A friend and companion never meet amiss, but above both is a wife and her husband, ultimately who agree one to another. Okay? Let's see here. Sirach 12:8. A friend cannot be known in prosperity, and an enemy cannot be hidden in adversity. See, when you got a whole bunch of money and a whole bunch of substance and a whole bunch of fame, all right, it's hard to find a true friend, because most people are there, all right, because you have all of these things, man. But an enemy won't be hid in adversity. He'll show himself, okay? Sirach 7:12. Devise not a lie against thy brother, neither do the like to thy friend. Right, that's evil. That's wicked. Okay? Let's see here. Sirach 22:25. I will not be ashamed to defend a friend, neither will I hide myself from him. Now I'm reading these precepts, but there's one that I'm trying to get to. Let's see. Let's see. Man. Sirach 7:18. Change not a friend for any good, by no means, neither a faithful brother for the gold of Ophir. All right, because nothing is comparable. All right, and in these times, all right, it's going to be the love of the brotherhood. All right, that is going to be one of the main things to help us get through. True friends. And ultimately, if you're separated, you have to have the strong mind to have these precepts at the forefront, all right, which will ultimately give you the mindset to continue to fight, man. Okay? Let's see here. Let's see here. It was the one scripture I was looking for. Sirach 29:10. Lose thy money for thy brother and thy friend, and let it not rust under a stone to be lost. All right, as the scriptures say, you know your brother is in need, and you got, money to give, or whatever it is to give, and you don't give it. That's counted as sin. Remember, charity covered the multitude of sins. All right. Sirach 14:13. Do good to thy friend before thy die, and according to thy ability, stretch out thy hand and give to him. All right. And it's not always money. Okay. And brothers, remember that. Okay. And here in which we learned it from our apostles and elders. Okay. It's a custom to give, to not show up empty handed. Okay. Especially if you brothers are congregating at, individuals' houses, make sure you bring, whatever it is. I myself, I'm always going to bring incense and some smell goods for the brother houses, the bottle of wine, cups, plates, and clean up too when you're using a brother's house. Okay. Before the night is over, there should always be, all right, a cleanup committee, man, to make sure that the brother's house that you're using, which he, through the Spirit of the Lord, put the Spirit on him to open it up to you all. Okay. To, make sure you clean in brothers' cribs, man. Not just overdoing it, man. All right, and you partying and chilling, but when it's time to clean up, you out of there. Okay, that's not cool. Okay, Sirach, this is the one. Sirach 37:6. Forget not thy friend in thy mind, and be not unmindful of him in thy riches. So if you get on, okay. All right. You always want to keep in mind those who were there for you. OK. So that's that. So the next set of scriptures from 7, OK, to 15, it deals with caution and taking advice. All right. Because amongst this truth, amongst this walk, all right, there's going to be particular advice and counsel you're going to take, but you got to be mindful. All right, because you got a lot of niggas who are hiding, all right, and acting as brothers, but they have ill intent. Or you can have a situation where an individual or a brother is speaking on a matter, all right, or speaking as a man, and you take everything that he says at face value and try to apply it to your situation in your life, and you end up destroying yourself. Okay, so you got to be mindful, as it says later on in this chapter. Okay, seek what is good for your soul. Okay, and the things that are not, give not yourself unto it. That's why you have to know your strengths, your weaknesses. You have to know what to listen to and what to just throw away. Okay. Now it says here, anyone could give advice. Okay. Anyone could give advice. Okay. But some people do so only in their own interest. See, an individual or someone will give you advice. Okay. But it's based upon what? Making them look better or drawing you into a narrative. All right. That really benefits them. Okay. And then you can be caught up into some damn mess. This is why the scriptures say, Sirach 6:13, separate thyself from thy enemies and take heed of thy friends. Because again, as we are finding out and as we're reading, everybody who says that they're a friend some of them are only friends in word or in name. But when it comes down to it, they're not friends. Okay. And you have particular individuals that prey upon weaker and younger brothers. And this is what the scribes and Pharisees were doing, the wicked ones. That's why Yahweh Shai said this in the book of, let's get it, twice the child of hell. This is what these wicked scribes and Pharisees were doing. All right. Matthew 23:15. All right. It says, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye compass sea and land to make one proselyte. And when he is made, you make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. Okay. Let's read this in another version. It says, what sorrow awaits you, teachers of religious law, and you Pharisees, hypocrites, for you cross the land and sea to make one convert, and then you turn that person into twice the child of hell you yourselves are. You see? So you have to be mindful you're not being turned into a child of hell by listening to advice of an individual who has ulterior motives. Okay? It says, be careful when somebody offers you advice. Find out first what his interest in the matter is, because you can be sure that he is thinking primarily of himself. So, Jake will counsel for his own belly. Okay. Give you advice for his own belly. Okay. You can come to him about a brother. All right. Instead of telling you to pray, or instead of telling you, you should talk to that brother about it. All right. He turns it into a murmuring contest. And then now you and him talking behind this brother's back, but nobody went to this brother. You see? So be mindful of conversations you're getting into. Be mindful of advice you're getting. Be mindful of advice you're giving. All right. Know who you're talking to. Don't open up secrets to every individual just because he says shalom. Okay. The scriptures speak on, all right, out of, I believe 1,000 having one counselor. Okay. Now you have brothers who you're close with. You open up, secrets, and that's, ultimately you become vulnerable. All right. You open yourself up. That's what intimate means. All right. Telling your secrets. But again, be mindful. Okay. Because you got individuals that will take that. Okay. And when they find opportunity, use it against you like a damn woman. Okay. The particular things you hear should never be repeated. Okay. Disclosing the secrets of another brother, just being, you got to be mindful, man. Okay. Again, anyone could give advice, but some people do it All right. Only in their own interest. Be careful when somebody offers you advice. Find out first what his interest in the matter is. Again, an individual can come to you, all right, with all manner of nonsense and information and make it sound good. All right. But ultimately, he's campaigning to put himself, all right, or to put you in position to where you're supporting a narrative that's just not right. Okay. Or give you some advice that will destroy you, counsel that will destroy you. You've had that. Okay. There's some very destructive things that happened to brothers came from bad advice from other brothers. Okay. Again, be mindful who you're taking advice from. Okay. You meet a particular woman off the internet, and you go to a brother and should I move her down? I ain't never met her, but should I move? And this brother, yeah, man, I'll do it. All right. And then ultimately, once that situation goes bad for you, or it could be anything, then this dude is talking shit about you from the advice he gave you. See? Knowing that you're not the strongest with women. Again, you have individuals that will give you horrible counsel. Be mindful who you're talking to. Be mindful of the advice you're taking. And that is not predicated upon lust. Okay? Be mindful. He will assure you that things look good and then stand back to watch what happens to you. See? We've seen things like this in the truth. This is why we do these lessons, to warn you brothers, man. Especially you younger brothers who are coming in. Okay? You got to, when you enter into this truth, you're entering into a spiritual war. All right? And even of your own selves, of your own camps, Paul tells you that individuals are going to arise doing evil and speaking evil of you and being demons. Okay? It says, don't ask advice of someone who doesn't trust you, and don't give advice to anyone who is jealous of you. Okay? Let's go to Sirach 37 and 11. It says, neither consult with a woman touching her of whom she is jealous. Okay? Your woman finds out you got another woman and she wants to have a conversation. No. You just remain silent. That's none of your business. All right? Because whatever you tell her, she's going to use it against you. So the best thing to do is just keep silent. I'm not talking to you about that. Okay? You're going to go to your woman for advice. All right? On a woman who she's jealous of? No. Okay? Neither with a coward in the matter of wars. And the scriptures talks about how you keep your mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. Let's get that in the book of Micah, the 7th chapter. Micah 7. Let's see here. I know it's in this chapter. Micah 7 and 5. Trust ye not in a friend, put not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. See? Because we're living in dark times. For the son dishonoreth the father, the daughter riseth up against her mother, the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the men of his own house. Okay? And you hate to look at it like that, but this is just the reality of where we are. Okay? So when letdowns happen and people of your own household, all right, turn into enemies, or people of the brotherhood comes and turns into enemies, hey, it's just a part of it. But I mean, keep the doors of thy mouth, meaning watch what you say to your woman. Okay? And when those spirits of boldness jump on her and she starts to question you about this, and hey, man, just remain silent. This is none of your business. I don't know, whatever. Okay? You getting that spirit. I want to confess, LaWanda. No. All right? Neither consult with the woman touching her of whom she is jealous, neither with the coward in matters of war. You don't talk to a coward about matters of war, nor with the merchant concerning exchange, okay, because he'll fandangle you, nor with the buyer of selling, nor with an envious man of thankfulness. Yeah, a buyer of selling. You go to someone who's a buyer. How much should I sell this for? All right. Well, he's going to give you advice, all right, to sell it at a particular price, and then he'll have someone else come in and buy it. Nor with an envious man of thankfulness, nor with the unmerciful man touching kindness, nor with the slothful man for any work, nor with an hireling for a year of finishing work. All right. Because a hireling is someone who's just there for a few days or a day to get a paycheck based on what he does that day. As to finish the project, he don't give a damn. That's not his concern. Okay, that's why Yahweh Shah says the hireling fleeth. Okay, when things get tough or it gets laborious or grievous, I ain't here for all of that. I just was here to get my money. I needed this money for this. Boom, I'm out. He ain't there to finish the job. Okay, nor with an idle servant of much business. Hearken not unto these in any matter of counsel. So the scripture is basically you giving you the advice to watch who the hell you're talking to and what you're saying unto them. Okay, even amongst the brotherhood, you have to be this way. Watch, you don't be mindful of who you're saying things to. Okay, it can be a younger brother around. There's certain things you just don't say or don't do. All right, because Jake is very impressionable, man. You see, and not every brother, all right, is built for everything. So you have to be mindful of what you're saying, who you're talking to, okay, who you're taking counsel with, who you're giving counsel to. All of these things matter. Okay. It says and this is why the scriptures say, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Yes, this is a beautiful thing. We have a brotherhood, but you have to be mindful of how you move and how you operate within the brotherhood. Okay. But be continually with a godly man whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind, who will sorrow with thee if thou miscarry. Meaning if you fumble, you make a mistake, he's going to sorrow with you. He's not going to use that as an opportunity, all right, to further destroy you. Now, don't get it twisted. All right. He may admonish you. He may rebuke you. All right. But he's with you. Okay. He's with you, man. He's not going to tell you secrets. Okay. Those are the types you want to be around. Those who are godly men. All right. Let's read this in the GNT. It says, instead, rely on someone who is religious. All right. Which religious just means worship. All right. What you do should reflect your religion. All right. I know we say what we teach is not a religion, but in a sense, all right, we do have things that we religiously do that are a part of the practice of being an Israelite in the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. There are particular ceremonies, there's particular, ways and things that we, all right, are dedicated to. Okay. So you rely on those who are fervent for the word of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua and are upstanding men. Okay. That have proven their character. As the scriptures say, you must prove a friend. Don't be hasty to credit. Okay. Okay, let's get that. That ain't in the Sirach. Boom. This is the point right here. Sirach 6 and 7. If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. Okay? Giving young men too much rank early, that ends up destroying them. Okay? Brothers have to be proven first. Okay? You have to what? Prove a friend. See what it says next. Boom. Let's get it. Sirach 6 and 7. If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. For some man is a friend for his own occasion. It will not abide in the day of thy trouble. And there is a friend who, being turned to enmity and strife, will discover thy reproach. Again, some friend is a companion at the table. All right, when it's time to eat, he's all lovey-dovey and happy, and and will not continue in the day of thy affliction. But in thy prosperity he will be as thyself, and will be bold over thy servants. Back up, But when you lose that wealth and affliction comes, these same niggas would be talking crap about you, man. And we see it in the world, and we can't be like that amongst the body. Okay? So some men are friends for their own occasion. Here it is. You think this individual is really a friend, but he's using you, all right, for a purpose to forward his belly, putting you in a reprobate spirit, feeding you lies. Okay? You have to watch for these kind of individuals, man. Okay? Verse 14, a faithful friend is a strong defense, and he that have found such and one have found a treasure. Right? Nothing doth countervail a faithful friend, and his excellency is invaluable. A faithful friend is the medicine of life, and he that fear the Lord shall find him. Okay? Boom. For whoso feared the Lord shall direct his friendship aright, for as he is, so shall his neighbor be also. All right? And the Heavenly Father will take you through things, but there's individuals, all right, that he'll take out of your life, and he does that for a reason, okay, for lessons, and ultimately you don't want these types of individuals around you, okay, because again, in a dire situation, these individuals can be a burden. So the Lord, it's good that the Lord is trimming the fat and getting hoe ass niggas away from us, okay. Let's go back to Sirach 37, okay. In 13, it says, let the counsel of thine own mind stand, for there is no man more faithful unto thee than it. Now, the balance of it is that the heart can be deceitful. All right. But there's particular situations that come to us where we have these gut feelings. All right. Where you have a voice in the back of your head. All right. And you have to know and to discern. All right. When to follow it, because following it at times can put you, all right, in better situations. Sometimes you have to trust your gut feeling. All right. Sometimes it's a demon. That's why prayer, fasting, and counsel with the right individuals, all right, is important. Okay. Simple conversations. Okay. Saying how you feel, saying how this made you feel, being honest and open. Okay. So that you can get to the bottom of situations and move past it. Okay, for a man's mind is sometime want to tell him more than 7 watchmen that sit above an high tower. Let's get this in the NLT. It says, and trust your own judgment. No one's advice is more reliable. As you're getting information from individuals, or someone is telling you something and you know it's not right, okay, and you know it can destroy you. Hey, you got to be mindful. Hey, well, nah, okay? Because again, like we're saying, some men could give you advice for their own belly. Okay? Sometimes your own intuition can tell you more than 7 watchmen on a high tower. Above all, pray to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua that he will show you the right thing to do. See that? Prayer is important, not being impulsive. Okay. Wisdom and confidence. All right. Verse 16, it says, planning and thought lie behind everything that is done. The mind concerns itself with four things. These are good and evil, life and death. They all begin in the mind, but the tongue is their absolute ruler. Woo. Let's read this in the King James. It says, let reason go before every enterprise and counsel before every action. Okay. Let reason go before every enterprise. Okay. But before you just up and do something, all right, you got to weigh the options and balances of, the result of what you do and how it can harm you, how it can harm the body. Okay. Or how it can benefit you, how it can benefit the body. Okay. You have to be a thinking man in this truth and counsel before every action. Okay. The countenance is a sign of a changing mind. Okay. Four manner of things appear, good and evil, life and death, but the tongue ruleth over them continually. Okay. Because what you say can lead to good or evil. It can lead to life or death. This is why the scripture says what? The tongue is very, very destructive. Okay. And it can lead to destruction or peace. So be mindful of what you say. All right. And let reason go before every enterprise. Okay. Don't just act upon impulse all the damn time. Okay. Of course we fall, we fall short. All right. But going into the times that we're going into, you're going to need to have control over your spirit. You're going to have to be able to rule your spirit. Okay. It says, there is one that is wise and teacheth many, yet is unprofitable to himself. And we've seen many individuals come in this truth, doing the best lessons, calling for all of the right precepts at the right time. All right. Shooting fire out his ass while he reading. I mean, just you like this. This gotta be one of David's mighty men. This gotta be one of the prophets coming back, but he's unprofitable to himself in his daily life. And all of this wisdom, he's going out and telling Israel, you need to do this, you need to do that. This going to happen to you. That he himself is a complete reprobate. There is one that showeth wisdom in words and is hated. He shall be destitute of all food. Nobody wants you around. You a complete asshole. Okay. Doing too much. Okay. Again, you got wisdom in words, but in deed, you're doing things that are leading to what? Your hate, because you're not taking, as it says here, you're not letting reason go before every enterprise and counsel before every action. You're just impulsive. Okay. And the scriptures talks about he who has no rule over his spirit. Okay. Let's read this in this version. Let's see here. It says, someone may have the ability to teach, but still not be of much use to himself. Don't be that guy. He may be clever with words, but end up starving because people hate him. This may happen if he doesn't have good sense. If the Lord has not given him tact. Okay. And tact, let's look up the word tact. Like balance, like self-preservation, the mind to say I'm going too far, or the mind to ultimately know when to stop. Okay. It says adroitness and sensitivity in dealing with others or with difficult issues. Okay. And leaders have to know how to approach particular situations with particular brothers. Okay. Consideration, delicacy. Okay. And all throughout the scriptures, we have to be mindful of the brothers, man. Okay. We can't be too far and this is how I do it. Okay. You got to be mindful. Okay. You have to have tact. Okay. You have to be delicate. All right. Diplomacy, discretion, discernment, judgment, prudence, perception. All right. Subtlety. All right. Wisdom, tactfulness, etiquette, courtesy, cordial, politeness, decorum. Have some decorum about yourself, like Hashar says. Oh, man. So there you go. All right. Some may consider himself wise and let you know that he is certain about what he knows. You have particular individuals like that. I know what I'm talking about. Look how many people I'm waking up. Look at me. Look at me. Look what I do. My works prove that I'm the man of the Lord. Right? But when it comes to him in a group setting, right? He's a complete reprobate. He sows discord. He goes around younger brothers being a complete asshole and demon. Okay, and then he acts like you got individuals act like they ain't did no wrong. But when you see them teaching, you like, this gotta be a man of the Lord. Watch out for individuals like that, man, because you got a lot of them. We've seen them come. Okay, we've seen them come. Anyone who is really wise will be the teacher of his people, and they can be certain that what he teaches is the truth. All right. And when you're wise, you're applying wisdom. Everyone will praise such person and speak of him as fortunate. OK, because he's not only profitable to the body, he's profitable to himself. He's not just speaking all of this stuff and telling Israel what they need to do. But then in his daily life, all right, and amongst the brotherhood, he's a complete asshole in how he deals with situations and brothers. All right. A person's life has only a limited number of days, but the life of Israel cannot be measured in days at all. See, Israel is going to have eternal life. Okay. The days of the life of man may be numbered, but the days of Israel are innumerable. All right. We're going to have eternal life, man. Okay. A wise man may inherit glory among his people, okay, and his name shall be perpetual. My son, prove thy soul in thy life and see what is evil for it and give not that into it. All right. So again, you got to be mindful of what's all right, good for you and what's not. All right. I don't like club settings, strip club. I don't like that. It's not for me. All right. So I don't and I don't participate in it. OK, there's particular things that certain individuals may be into, but I'm not into it. OK, so even if they're like, oh, man, you being a party pooper, I'm not going. I'm not doing that. OK, because I know I'm going to put myself in a bad position if I do. OK, again, you have to know your weaknesses, strengths, what's good for you and what's not. And you learn these things over time with maturity. Okay, there's particular things as you get older, you find out, I don't like a woman like this. I don't like this, that. But you may be stuck with a woman, all right, that you may not necessarily even mesh with, because ultimately you were young and didn't really know yourself, and you just chose a wife for yourself. OK, this is why applying this wisdom is very, very important. OK, it says, so prove thy soul in thy life and see what is evil for it and give not that into it. For all things are not profitable for all men, neither have every soul pleasure in everything. All right. And you got individuals that are, even if you tell them you're not into certain things, they'll still try to force it up on you. Okay, it could be drinking. I have a drink, forcing drink up on you. That's in the scriptures. All right. Then he's a drinker. You're not. Now your ass is all sick and jacked up. When you know you can't really get down like that. And he should be mindful to know that. See? And you know when a brother is getting too effed up, because he'll start telling you he love you and put his arm around you, and it happens. But you got to know with drinking, eating, whatever, like, bro, chill. Even if the bro get mad, you're looking out for his goodwill. Anyway, all things are not profitable for all men, neither have every soul pleasure in everything. See? So be mindful of that. Be not unsatiable in any dainty thing. Dainty is good things, food, nor too greedy upon meats. Okay? And you got to be mindful with the diet. Okay? If you're feeling jacked up, sluggish, the spirit's not on you, a lot of times that's something you ate. So you have to start journaling or writing down or thinking, okay, this is what I ate. I'm eating too much of this and I feel this way when I eat too much of that. So you may have to fall back on particular things that you enjoy. For excess meat bringeth sickness. And we're living in a time where they're putting all manner of chemicals and disease in the food. All right. Now, the Lord said we're going to eat poison and live, but you have to be mindful of how something you're eating is affecting your spirit. All right. Let's read this in the GNT. It says, my child, as you go through life, keep your appetite under control and don't eat anything that you know is bad for you. Okay. Like cheese. I can't have cheese. Cheese is good as hell. Right. But I can't eat it. There was a point where I would try to dibble and dabble. Okay, I'll just eat a little bit. No, it always affects me. So there come a point where I had to leave it alone. Okay. When I'm eating meat multiple days in a row and every day, I notice that I'm in a particular spirit. All right. So there's particular things that, they may be lawful, but your spirit gets jacked up when you have too much of it. Alcohol. Okay. You're drinking alcohol and then every day. And then the next day you wake up in a docile spirit. You're not motivated to work out. You have to be mindful. Well, damn, when I'm drinking too much. All right. Or if I'm eating too late, or if I'm eating too much, overeating, I noticed I'm lazy and slothful the next day. You have to what? Then you have to what? Change your approach. Again, that's using wisdom. Okay? All food doesn't agree with everyone, even lawful things, right? And everyone doesn't like the same kinds of food. Don't feel that you just have to have all sorts of fancy food, and don't be a glutton over any food. Okay. If you eat too much, you'll get sick. All right. And a lot of the sickness that we have comes from overeating and diet. And it's crazy that we never put two and two together when we were in a world of how our sickness can be a result of what we're eating and how much we're eating of a particular thing, how much we're drinking, all right, day in and day out. Okay, be mindful of how particular foods affect you. When you're in a jacked up spirit and you're angry and bitter, think about what you ate or what you've been eating. If you've been eating too much of something, and then try to wean off of it. Try to have it, instead of every day, every other day, or every 3 days, or take a week off. And you'll start to notice a better mood. Then you'll be like, damn. But it may be something that you have a very, very intense craving for. All right. This is where prayer, fasting, all right, and getting control of the situation comes into play. If you eat too much, you'll get sick. If you do it all the time, you'll always have stomach trouble. And a lot of the stomach trouble we have is because ultimately what they're putting in these foods. All right. What they're putting in these foods is meant to war against you. All right. And you'll be surprised at how food will, all right, attack your spirit. It may, and Esau knows how to make the shit so good, but it's full of chemicals. Gluttony has been the death of many people. Avoid it and live longer. All right. And what is gluttony? Let's see if we can get a definition of this word. Gluttony, habitual greed or excess in eating. Greediness, overeating, overconsumption, binge eating. Okay. And if you notice when it's gloomy outside, your body starts to crave more comfort food because the sun's not out. So your body is looking for some sort of satisfaction and happiness, and you'll notice you'll find that in food, because foods have drugs in them, and Esau uses witchcraft, all right, with the food, all right. And what this food does is it separates us from the Lord in a sense. All right. Now, the water Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, that the flesh is not the end all be all, and the spirit, as the scriptures say, the spirit is weak, but the flesh, the flesh is weak. I forget how it's written. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Okay. But again, how your flesh feels can weigh your spirit down. So we have to be mindful of our diet. All right. We have to be mindful of overeating and not doing too much. Okay. And not being gluttons. So I just wanted to go through Sirach, the 37th chapter. Hopefully that, boosted you brothers and sisters in whatever area you need it, for whoever needed it, giving all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rachakwadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.